Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you're playing the trumpet and it just feels difficult, but it doesn't seem like it should feel difficult? You're not playing too much and you've practiced good and you've got healthy habits, but yet things still feel difficult. And then you end up pulling the tuning slide off of the trumpet and you look down there and you realize, holy crap, my trumpet is so dirty. If you've ever found yourself in that position, then this video is for you. I'm gonna go over how I clean my trumpet. I think it's a pretty simple process, and I always notice an immediate difference in how much air I can move and how good it feels. And in past times, it's almost felt like I've given myself an extra dynamic on the top end. It feels that much better. You're only gonna need a few tools to be able to do this. So I have this pack right here. It's from Ultra Pure, and it's got a snake. This is something you're gonna absolutely have to have. And then there's another one. This is it's a valve casing brush or a valve brush. And then I have some tuning slide oil. And then you're just gonna need some dish soap of any kind. I think I'm using something like Dawn in this video. The first step in cleaning your trumpet is to fill a sink with water and add some sort of dish soap. I don't really know what the correct ratio of water to soap is. Some people that have taught me how to clean my trumpet have some sort of specific ratio of various things to get the right cleaning solution. I just put a little bit of soap in there and then try to get as much soapy water as I can, and that's really all I'm looking for. If you don't have a sink that's big enough, like this one that I have here, it's okay. Before we got this sink, I would just fill up the sink in my upstairs bathroom, and I would put all of the smaller parts of the trumpet in there, and then when it came time to clean the actual trumpet itself, I would just run some water through it in the bathtub and try to clean it up the best I could that way. So it doesn't have to be in a sink like this. Obviously, it's nice to be able to do it all in the same place, but really any place that you can fill up with water and put some soap in there will suffice. Trumpet maintenance is really important to keep on top of. I myself am very bad about it, so I'm speaking to myself as much as anybody else. I just think it makes a huge difference in how well your trumpet can play and how easy it is to play the trumpet. And so every single time I clean my trumpet, I think to myself, wow, I really should stay more on top of cleaning my instruments because it's just so much easier to play. And then I eventually just get lazy or I get busy with other things and I don't think about it. And then I wait too long. It's just this whole cycle for me. So don't be like me. Stay on top of cleaning your trumpet and life will be better. Now that the sink is full, we're going to move on to step 2, where it's time to disassemble our trumpet. I usually lay out a towel and then take apart my trumpet on top of this towel so everything's in the same place and I can see everything. Most of the parts of the trumpet are pretty self-explanatory to take apart. You're going to take out the tuning slide and the first, second, and third valve slides. Make sure to take off the valve caps at the bottom of the valve. The only part of the trumpet that is pretty specific to take apart are the valves themselves. The reason it's important to take the valve apart in a very specific way is because if you don't do it this way, it'll be hard to remember exactly how to put it back together. And if you put it back together incorrectly, the trumpet just won't work. It's just not going to play. You're first going to unscrew the top of the valve, and you're going to set that down. And then you're going to take out the spring, and you're going to set it down just underneath that. And then when you hold the valve, you can see that there's the valve itself, and then there's a little tiny metal piece inside of it. One side of this metal piece is bigger than the other. When you take this piece out of the valve, what you want to do is make sure that you keep it oriented correctly. You keep the part that's facing up, up. You keep the part that's facing down, down, and you keep the big side on the big side and the little side on the little side, and you set it down just underneath the spring. So that way you know when you go to put the trumpet back together, you're going to pick up that piece exactly the same way you took it out, and you're going to put it back in exactly the same way so that it goes together the same way it came apart. After that, just set the valve underneath that line, and you have the valve itself, but in its individual pieces, all in a line so you can remember exactly what goes where. The third step is going to be taking the trumpet, the slides, the valve block itself, and the valve caps on the bottom, and you're going to put those in the sink with the soapy water. You're going to leave the valve stem, the part with the button, I guess, that you push down. You're going to leave the spring, and you're going to leave that little tiny metal piece with the big and the small end. You're going to leave that on the towel don't worry about washing that. Then you're going to take your valve brush and your snake, and you're just going to begin cleaning out the trumpet. For these slides, you're going to take the snake and you're going to work with that, and then for the valves inside the trumpet and then the valves themselves with all the little holes, you're going to use the thicker valve brush. When using the snake or the valve brush, you just want to hold it underneath the water and get it through or into whatever part of the slide you're looking at, and then you're going to try to just move the brush through so it has a chance to get all the gunk and all the whatever that's in your trumpet out of there. I usually try to go in and out of the slide a couple of different times so that it really has a chance to get everything out of there. And when you finish, you're going to have a little drip of water going, and then you're going to rinse it off, and then you're going to put it back where you disassembled your trumpet on the towel, wherever you disassembled your trumpet. When it comes time to clean the trumpet, you're going to just run some water through the bell to clean that out, and then you want to work really hard to make sure you get all of the soap out of the entire instrument. Obviously, on the trumpet itself, it being bigger than all the slides, there's just more places that soap can hide. So take your time to make sure that you've really gone through each and every spot to be able to clean out all the soap. Make sure that it's good and clean. When you're finished doing that step, you move on to the next one, where you want to try to get everything as dry as you possibly can. From what I understand, if you leave any water in the trumpet, it can get trapped in there and it'll stay in there, and you'll end up getting some rust or some red rot. It's just not good for the inside of the trumpet. And so you want to do everything in your power to shake the valves out, to take a towel and pat them down. If you have to blow some air through the valves or some of the slides to make sure you're getting as much of it as you possibly can out, do everything you can, because it's important to get it as dry as you possibly can. Once you're finished drying the trumpet off, you're going to wait until the next day to put it together. This is to make sure that whatever amount of water that may have been left over while you were trying to dry it off and shake them out and all that kind of stuff, that amount of residual water will have a chance to just air dry. All right, so this is now the next day. I think I left it out for, 18 hours, maybe 20 hours. So it wasn't a full 24 hours. When you begin to assemble the trumpet, again, you want to make sure with the valves that you're being very careful to have that little piece get put back into the valve exactly the right way. And then for your slides, you're going to take your slide grease and you're going to put a pretty healthy amount of grease on those slides. They're going to be completely dry, and you want to make sure there's a lot of lubricant so that when you put it back in your trumpet, it's not just bone dry or anything like that. I usually cake it on there, make sure there's a little bit on the ends, and then I put the slides in one at a time and kind of move it around a little bit just to get it all moving and smooth and all that kind of stuff. And then I'll put the whole slide in there and wipe up any residual grease that has been left over. And then for the valves themselves, you put them together, and then you're just going to put valve oil on there like normal and get it all nice and moving. And at this point, your trumpet is done. It is good to go. Again, this is a pretty simple process to me. There are much more thorough ways you could clean it. You could go to someone who's an ultrasonic cleaner, or maybe you go to a place that can do a chemical clean. But to be honest, if you stay semi-regular with this particular approach, this is a super easy and cheap way to keep your trumpet clean and to not have to go and spend all the extra money if you don't need to. I hope you've been able to see how easy it is to clean your trumpet, and if it's something you've been avoid doing, just follow the steps in this video and I promise your horn will be cleaner and it will play better. Let's actually take a listen to my trumpet now that I've cleaned it and see what it feels like.